celebration of love episode. A month later, I know. But imagine marrying someone you've never met before, only to fall madly in love later. Those are our special guests today, so hang tight and welcome to Unscripted with me, Grace, from Stakeout Restaurant on Banyani Road here in Lavington. Let's begin. Welcome to the show. Like I said, I have two special guests with me today. Everyone is waiting to hear your story, even though some I've had already. But like I said, it's always fresh and new. Welcome to Unscripted.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for making the time for us.
Yes.
We can start by introducing yourselves. You can tell the people at home who you are and why you're here today. Shall I do ladies first?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm Pastor Liz Muyo Campo. I'm a pastor, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a content creator, and I just love life.
Oh, and yourself?
Yes, I'm Solomon Ocampo. I also pastor with her,
Okay.
and I'm her husband.
I love it. So the reason you're here is because you have a unique story. You never met before, and then you get married. An arranged marriage situation, which we've heard of but never really had a conversation about. Tell us how that came to happen. Anyone who's thinking, what? Why would you choose that? How did the union come to be?
Well, it starts with his family, so I think it will be good for him to tell
kick off.
us.
Tell us how that
Yes,
happened.
everybody tells us you're crazy, and for sure it's a crazy thing to do.
It's a crazy thing.
Our parents were friends because of ministry.
Yeah.
They were missionaries. But interestingly enough,
Yeah.
I hadn't met her, and she hadn't met me. But for my siblings, we were already doing it. They had done it. I have elder siblings who went through the same thing of arranged marriage. At first, we were nervous, looking if it would work out. And so far, they're all married, and none have divorced yet. 17 years
sign.
later, they have lots of kids. So for me, it wasn't very shocking.
Okay.
I knew I was gonna go down the same path, but it still had its own challenges. So that's how it started with my family.
So for you, you'd already come to terms with this could be your reality.
Yes,
You were
it was
okay
an
with
accepted fate.
I see.
The only issue I had was I was very patriotic, and I still am. So when my parents were mentioning white ladies
exploring
from,
out of
yes,
your country.
out of my country, because I also lived in the States, and we had some friends and connections there. When they would float different races, I'm not racist, but I just wanted Filipino only mentality.
Okay.
So that was the struggle. I was saying to them that you can pick for me whoever you want, but please let it just be from the same country. So that's the issue.
So before I ask you how you responded or reacted when you saw her, how was it for you when your parents told you, we have a suitor for you, young lady?
Well, first of all, it was my mother. My father was never on board.
And he was never on
until
board?
later, yes.
see.
Because he felt like I needed to fall in love first.
Of course.
But our mothers were really good friends. I could say they were best friends.
I
And so
see.
she had gone for his sister's wedding. He's number 6, so the fifth one, the fifth born.
Okay.
And it was an arranged marriage. And while she was there is when his mother informs my mother, your daughter is next for my son. And and she's just laughing, which daughter? Because we were many.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. It's like, your last one, Liz. And she laughed even more. Liz, she's so strong-minded, there's no way.
Yeah.
But she called me and she informed me, the Ocampos are thinking about you. And we laughed together because it was just hilarious. Like,
To me, it was a
what?
joke. What do you
Yes,
mean?
it was a pure joke.
Yeah.
And we, like he said, they were family friends, and had seen them. I'll just see many Filipinos in church. The church is big, so I'll just see them there. When you're
So you
a
hadn't
pastor's
seen him
kid.
specifically?
No,
Okay.
maybe if I saw him, then he's in a crowd.
Okay.
Because there were 12 kids.
Okay.
And so as a pastor's child, I'll sit behind. So you're sitting behind in church. You don't want to be associated with many things. You're just seeing people there. But we knew they were in arranged marriages, his siblings, and would make fun of it, It was something to make fun of.
Like
you
how?
know.
How were you
Like,
doing this?
this
Trying
guy's-
to understand.
Like, what? Your father is not picking you. And we'd make fun and laugh.
Yeah.
And now they're telling me I'm on the line to marry their son. I'm
Yeah.
like, are these guys crazy? Like, no. And so I rejected. That was in 2011 until 2014 when I had just so much dating going in between because I had graduated as a young pastor in 2010,
All right.
a young lady pastor, and you're in the limelight, you're a youth pastor, and everybody's watching on your purity life, waiting for you to fall, waiting for you to fornicate, you know, waiting for you to come with a pregnancy. And so I decided to have standards, purity standards. And so also I was dating fellow pastors in church. Not in our church, in other churches.
Okay.
So like a youth pastor here, you meet them and you just...
How did it go?
But yeah, that's the thing. Like I'll lay my purity standards down and like, you know, we are pastors, you're to achieve pulpit. I'm like, wait,
Wow.
no.
Really?
So I went through that and I told God, I want a man who has higher standards than I.
Good.
That's where
That's a
it
good
began
prayer.
because I want a man who has higher standards than.
Yeah.
And so the Lord reminded me of the Campo family. It was like, those guys, they don't even hug you. You know, their purity standards on another level. If they know I'm going to marry you, to Patani on the aisle. Our first kiss will be on the aisle. Our first hug will be on the aisle. I was like, any of those are standards definitely higher than mine.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so when I was thinking about it, the week I was thinking about it, it was like on a Monday. So I sent him a hi on Facebook because I'd blocked him everywhere. I didn't want anything to do with this
When you first
narrative.
had the news, you blocked it completely.
Exactly. And I didn't want this narrative at all.
Yeah.
Because before that, if I could just backtrack, in 2012, my mother took the whole family for a vacation in the Philippines. And while we were there, his family surprised us and they betrothed me to him. Like when we were going, they're like, okay, in front of the whole church, we want to make an announcement, you know, and they're like, oh, I want to betroth our son. And I'm there with my sisters, we're laughing. Oh, finally they got somebody
First of
for
all,
this guy.
betrothed. Like, when did you last hear that term?
Betrothed.
I know. I'm like, so it happened even before you were on board.
I wasn't on board at all. In fact, I was dating at that time. Yeah.
She had a boyfriend.
Poor guy. So how did that go? Did he find out? Did you tell him?
No,
Look,
of course, I had to tell him immediately. We came to Kenya and we discussed it and we realized, yeah, you know, let's just hold this on a break, put it on a break and see where this goes. But even because I was still rejecting and time, so that isn't what really broke us up, but with the guy at that time. But it just didn't work out.
It didn't work, of course.
Yeah. And so when we were there in the Philippines, you know, in service, and the father gets, oh, we are betrothing my son. Yeah. And so I'm with my sisters, we're laughing, you know. And finally they got somebody for this guy.
You had no idea.
I know, I have no idea, like totally no idea. And so he's called up and they say, and to Elizabeth. I'm like, wait, which Elizabeth? There must be another Elizabeth in this group. And I said, boy, you're all the way from Africa. I'm like, what? You know, my sisters now, they have even fallen. They're crying. They're laughing. Like, Anya, I stand up. I'm in tears. You know, I cannot believe I'm in front of everybody.
How old are you at this time?
How old was I? I think I was 22. Yeah.
Okay, also young.
Yeah. So I get up. For sure, I go there. I'm betrothed to this stranger. I'm seeing him. I'm looking at him up and down. Like, there's no way I'm marrying this guy. Like, there's absolutely nothing I'm liking about him.
And what's running through your mind at this time?
I was also shocked because I was just called to that meeting. I wasn't even supposed to be there. So just from out of the crowd, I was called in front and this happens. I was shocked, but I knew it was coming. So I just said, if it's God's will, then let God's will be done. We were both shell-shocked at that time.
I can imagine. Yes. I can imagine. But you did, so years later,
yeah,
is when you have a moment where
so
God
now that time
reminds
now
you.
is when I blocked him. Because I'm betrothed to him, but I've blocked him everywhere. Yeah. And I continued my dating life. And so, yeah. And so now I block him on a Monday. I'm like, you know, hi. Because on Friday, he's flown all the way from the Philippines. He's in my living room with my whole family there asking me to marry him on his knees.
Did you, when you said hi, did you follow up with other things?
No, I didn't follow up. He's the one who followed up. He said, what's your ring size? And I jokingly just sent him my ring size and that was it.
And you came back, you came to Kenya with a ring?
Yes, I flew all the way right away. I got on the next flight.
In 5 days' time.
Yeah.
In 5 days.
So I need to ask. I have many questions, but I'll ask one.
Yes.
For you, what confirmed she's the one? Instantly like that.
it still wasn't confirmed because remember at this time she had blocked me for years.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It was a constant no.
Yeah, that's constant rejection.
Yes, constant rejection. I don't want you. Nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Nothing I like about you. And even my mom, who's a very persuasive person,
Okay.
tried to talk to her for hours. She couldn't get through to her.
Yeah.
So for me, there was no confirmation. I knew it was a no. But my mom said, let's give it one last go. You go there personally and ask her. Then we'll see. We'll take it from there. So I came here not knowing what I was gonna get.
I
If
see.
it's still a no. So I flew. I surprised her.
Yeah.
She was just shocked to see me in the living room. But it so happened her whole family also
Was
happened
there.
to be there that night for some
Wow.
reason. And they were also just
Supposed to-
surprised. So I knelt down, got on my knees. She actually, when she saw me, she's like, "What are you doing here? Are you going to propose?" It's like she ruined it. So I go down on my knees.
That's
Then when I
funny.
actually went down on my knees, she was shocked. Like, "What? No, no, no! This is not how I envisioned my engagement to be."
Aw.
Proposal. And
know.
so I was there on my knees. It was the longest 2 minutes of my
Of your
life. But
life.
she wasn't saying yes or no. She was just screaming,
Shocked, looking.
shocked. I said, "Is that a yes?" So I'm waiting there.
What did
And
she
I
say?
think peer pressure got to her, and
Peer pressure, exactly.
she said yes. So I was
said
so
yes,
happy. And so
knowing I'm
everyone
going to
in the
say
room-
no. Exactly. I didn't want to embarrass him. Like, please get up, get up, get up. Yeah, at that point, I knew I'm going to tell him later, please, sorry, you caught me off guard, but no.
So I have to ask this. Because it sounds crazy to anyone listening to the story. But I feel situations like that, there's got to be a deeper conviction to make you take that bold step. So for you to say yes, and for you to come all the way from another country to put a ring on a stranger's finger who's rejected you, in your quiet moments, you know, when you're alone, in your prayer closet, tell us about those moments where God confirmed it for you. You've sort of shared for you. For you, how was that process?
yes, and exactly how you frame it, Grace. That though my mind was clashing, because this is not my country made. You know, it's a foreigner.
You didn't even want a foreigner, exactly.
I didn't want any foreigner. But in my heart of hearts, like you were saying, in my quiet space, there was the peace that I could not explain, that this was the right decision. In my mind, in my checklist.
It sounded crazy.
It's no, like every part of me didn't want it, but then when I checked with my heart, there was this supernatural peace that came with this decision. So I knew deep down, though emotionally I'm not invested, I'm not attracted, I'm not, not that she was not attractive.
Yeah,
She
I
was
get
very
it.
beautiful.
I get
But
it.
I had my own close-minded mindset. So in my heart of hearts, I had that peace.
Peace. I love that. Peace is an indicator. That's powerful. And for you, my dear?
Well, I talked with his siblings. For me, it was more of not him as an individual, but the whole family. I could see how they were flourishing in marriage. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want a failing marriage. I didn't want
course.
to
No
be...
one wants that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was just seeing, I was like, there's something about an arranged marriage, I think, that really works. And so when I was talking like to his older sister, she was telling me she was crying down the aisle. Like, that's how much she didn't want. But now she's more in love with her husband than anything else, 21 years into marriage. And she just, and I'll talk to sibling after sibling, asking them their experiences, the good and the bad, because of course there's the bad. You just want to be convinced this person loves you.
Yeah.
It's not their parent forcing them. And that brought me to a peace because I could see my future.
Okay.
It is just the picture of seeing my future that I
Gave you
think this
that.
will work. That, and asking his parents, why me? Like, you could see everybody in Philippines, but why me?
me?
Why did you cross the oceans?
What did
And
they
they
say?
had so much scripture that the Lord had confirmed to them over and over again that it was me. Even the father, he really didn't want somebody outside. Yeah, so the Lord also had to speak to him very clearly that it is me.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
When our our first date. Everything was our first in our honeymoon, but we were doing it with family around because both families were in the Philippines at that time.
Okay.
So it just became a big organza of family
I'm sure.
vacation,
Oh,
island
okay.
hopping with both families, and so it was more of a family thing. So we're not really getting intimate.
Alone time.
Yeah, alone time.
Okay.
So I would say we just had like 2 weeks to get to know each other before we had a baptism by fire, having a
wow.
difficult pregnancy.
Ah,
So
okay.
2 weeks after, I immediately got very, very sick.
Sorry.
And so when we find I'm pregnant, and I'm diagnosed with hyperemesis gravidarum.
Wow.
And so that was meaning puking almost 60 times a day. And so I couldn't even hold anything in, water, nothing. So I'm on IV. And he had to become an immediate nurse to this stranger that we were
Imagine.
just beginning
Literally,
to ask.
for better or for worse,
Exactly,
immediately.
immediately. We were beginning to ask, what is your favorite color? What is, you know? I didn't even know his full names. I was finding them there in the aisle. Oh, these are your
those
full
are your
names.
names. Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, we were trying to
a
get it.
lot.
And then now we get into this. And now it was a whole 9 months. He had to leave everything he was doing. We had purpose to live in the Philippines. So I had moved everything, or almost 6 suitcases of my stuff. I had moved to the Philippines for good, you know. And now, all of a sudden, I'm craving githeri. I'm craving Farmer's Choice sausage.
Oh, wow. The baby is specific.
Yeah, it's so specific, you know. Like, I'm not eating anything. I'm in hospital. He had to leave everything he's doing and become a full-time nurse. Like, I needed that support system, and he was there. And so with these cravings, my mom had to come. So my mother comes back to the Philippines to nurse me, bring in these githeris and things. And so it runs out.
Okay.
My father comes.
Wow.
My father sees me, he's like, no, we're taking her back home, you know.
Oh, wow.
And so
you came back to Kenya?
we came back to Kenya with him.
Okay, together.
Now we've removed him from his country. He even went.
The patriotic guy.
Had to leave.
He was literally existing in Kenya, like thousands of why am I here? What am I doing? What is this? I didn't even want this.
Yeah.
It was horrible. It was really baptism by fire.
What was the hardest thing to adjust? What was your hardest thing to adjust to?
Yes, at that time you were seeing this stranger, and everybody has that concept of marriage. When you go into marriage, you think of roses and all good things.
Sounds
That's why
like
you got
good
married.
things. Uh-huh.
You think
Unlimited sex.
unlimited love making, but then you see this person, this
reality.
stranger in front of you. So I had to be a caregiver. I had to carry her to the toilet. She was barely surviving, and she was close to the point of death. Really.
Is that bad?
Yes,
was that
doctors
bad.
advised us to abort several times.
Yes.
Yes.
So when we flew back to Kenya, she was in a wheelchair, and her
Really?
family, when they picked us up at the airport, they all started crying because she was just skin and bones, because
so
she's
sorry.
not able to maintain fluid. If you can't eat, that's bad, but if you can't
Maintain
take in
water,
fluid, that's
yeah.
critical. So that was her case, and so it was a baptism, not a day, not 1 day thing, the whole 9 months until the condition stops when you give birth. So that's only when it ends.
How did you get through that?
I don't know. And 4 times.
And she
Happened
did it
all
4
through all
times.
my
All
all
your
4
children?
pregnancies.
All
of
children.
them.
What gave you the strength to say, you know what, let's try again?
No, the Lord surprised me. There's no way in my mind, no way in my head that I would accept that. No, because of all the time we were spending. Just
Together.
24 hours together. Even at night, we were awake together. He would not let me sleep because I wouldn't sleep. Acid or I'll just wake him up and we'd stand. And so all this time we've spent together, I would like watch a series together just to pass time.
You got
And
to know
we'd
each
talk
other.
and talk, exactly. And I fell in love with the fact that he was the way he took care of me, of a stranger, I fell in love with that. That's how I fell in love with him, because he would just carry me. He would never show me that he's tired. If he showed, he would show it maybe to others, but not to me.
to you.
He would never show me that I was a burden. He would never show me that I was looking horrible. I was constantly wondering how I'm looking, you know. I'm smelling through. I could not brush my teeth for 9 months. I could not stand the sight of a toothbrush. I could not even stand the sight of his language. I could not hear.
You didn't want to
like
hear
that
it.
pregnancy was crazy.
Wow.
Like if you're around me, speak English, speak English, speak English.
Speak English,
Swahili. So you can imagine, so his family, even when they're around me, speak English, you know.
And for you, that's beautiful.
God was faithful enough to give that burst of emotion, especially after the wedding.
Yeah.
And He allowed me to feel that love, that emotion towards her. So that's how.
Towards you, right?
Yes.
Did you tell your friends? Did you
Oh,
tell
yes.
extended family? And how did they take your news,
I
your union?
remember when we were walking down Nairobi the first time, people, this was like 8 years ago, when
You
even
just got
10
married.
years, when we're not so much used to this interracial thing in Nairobi. Now we're more open to it.
Yeah.
We see it, but back then, 10
It was
years ago,
very-
people were like, yeah, they would call us out on the street. What are you doing? So,
Really?
and some other pastors from other churches heard about it, and they were even discouraging her. They said, what is this crazy thing you want to get into? Don't do it. Don't do it.
But from immediate family, no, and immediate friends, because I flew my bridesmaids to be there with me, so immediate best friends. You know, your small circle,
small- okay.
yeah, like a tiny circle, yeah, the tiniest of the tiny. But other friends, I never ever informed friends that I was in an arranged marriage until 5 years, 1.5 years ago. Sorry, when we hit 5 years mark in marriage, it's like, I'm ready to talk about this. Now we're strong. Nothing is shaking us. Now we're good. We've proved we have the children
I see.
that it's working. Because you know, you could come out after 1 year. Oh, guys, I'm in an arranged marriage. People tell you, wait, our dream marriage, chapa. You'll be shaken. You'll be, and for sure, maybe those words would have sunk into us and would have fallen apart. So no,
Needed to be stronger.
and we needed to be stronger and to be strong and to go through the ups and downs of marriage and make it through, and just to reach that point where you say it was my choice, not my parents. You know,
Okay, good.
like
Good.
I
You
was
can,
a grown
today
up.
you can say that. It was
Yes,
your
today I
choice.
can say that it was my choice.
That's
You know,
good.
anytime we go through hurdles and hardships, it was my choice.
Fantastic. And what about the church community? You said you wanted to be an example to them and to
Yes.
be a leader in that way.
Yes.
How did that play out for you?
It played out so well for me because I have the authority to mentor young girls into purity and tell them I did it, you know. Until the aisle, I had my first kiss with him at the aisle with my husband.
How was that?
Yes.
If we can be that detailed, how was
Yes.
that moment?
That moment, if we can replay it, it was very quick because he didn't want to
know.
embarrass me. I'm like, wait, this is our
Like,
first kiss.
did it feel strange? I know.
I'm like, this is our first kiss. Let's not rush this thing.
What would you tell someone at home now watching, maybe who is battling with purity and they want to achieve that for themselves? Could be a young couple or a young girl or a gentleman. And speak to that person who's battling with that. And what would you tell them about the decision that you both made?
The world we're living in today has gotten much harder. So we know the challenges there, especially with peer pressure of, to enter into this premarital sex. You have to just please the other to be in a relationship. Like, no one will keep you in a relationship if you don't play or give them what they want. So we know the hardships are there. But if this person is just after that, sex with you, then they're never gonna value you more than that. So if you value yourself, then others will value you how you value yourself.
That's deep. Very true. And you, Liz?
Well, I'll say for ladies, we cannot give up. We have to stand firm, no matter how much men out there. God has a specific man for you with your exact requirements. So don't bring your requirements or your standards lower just because the man that you're seeing is telling
can't
you
seem to-
otherwise. Exactly. Because if a man is playing you and if he wants to play you with you when you're not yet married, when you're married, definitely he will play you.
do that.
That is a fact. And so your standards can't come down, and God's standards also don't come down. He's looking for a bride of Christ. When I say we are the bride of Christ, you're without spot, you're without wrinkle. Your choices you make now affect your daughters, they'll
so
affect your
true.
sons, they affect your children. So let us not just make choices thinking it's just for you. You're affecting generations.
That's powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you. And speaking of generations,
Yeah.
both your parents in ministry.
Yes.
You're both in ministry.
Yes.
So your children looking up. What tips can you give to married couples at home or those intending for marriage? How can you help them today?
We haven't really found yet the answer.
What's
it's a
working
day by
for
day.
two of you? It's a day by
Yes.
day. That's true.
It's an arranged marriage, but it is still a marriage like any other.
Yep.
So you have days where you don't even know what you're doing with this person. Like, you don't feel any emotion of love. Like, Then sometimes you go through fights, you start hating each other. Then you love each other another day. So I think that is one foundation where you can stand strong if you go to a deeper reason, not just emotion. Because if you married because you were so in love,
Feeling,
that
yeah.
emotion will fade.
That's true.
So if you married because of sex, there will be times that you look for it in another place. So your reasons and your foundation must be deeper than emotion, must be deeper than these superficial things that we think are
Yeah.
the reasons. So if love, yes, it's an emotion, but it's not just an emotion, it's a decision. You have to
That's
decide to love even though you're not feeling like you love your spouse that day.
Yeah.
So you have to go deeper. Why are you together? It's because this is God's will for you. It's because you want to establish a family for the future.
And you, as we finish this part?
Well, I think forgiveness and compromise goes a long way. Marriage is all about waking up, forgiving, continuing forgiving. And
Right.
if you're somebody who does not forgive,
Holds grudges, it's going to be difficult.
Please do not
It's a
step in the
kwangumu.
institute. But you have to be constantly forgiving and forgiving completely, to forget completely, not constantly bringing it up. And just for us women also, we love to be cherished and everything. That's why it's good for the men to love. Once you love a woman properly, it's very easy to submit. That's
true.
very easy to submit.
I always say that. That's so true.
And so submission just comes in, and everybody has their role to play.
Yep.
And so you just make sure you play yours well and have compromise here and there. You can't stand, oh, this is how I think, this is what I feel, this is how I was brought up. You have to have compromise. I mean, you're creating your own institution, your own family.
Yeah.
And so it is beautiful when the Lord even steps in and He's the foundation and the ground, and it just becomes a beautiful institution.
That is beautiful. I think on the next part, I'd like us to talk deeper about what that deeper meaning of love is or should be in a marriage, especially where faith is concerned, and the role God has played in bringing the two of you together. We can do that? Yeah. All right, stay right there. We'll be right back. The importance of, or the role faith has played in your relationship for those at home.
Yes, we have to understand something, Grace. Even though marriage is a worldwide institution, for us who know of God,
It's God's origin, isn't it?
it is God's origin. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. He's the creator of marriage. It's not man. So when
That's why it's fought so much,
it's
isn't
fought
it?
so much now, and they're trying to discredit it and trying to change it. So once we put the focus on God, we bring God into our marriage. Then when we run out of reasons for staying together, because you will run out of reasons. There will be days where it's so dark.
Yeah.
You might
tell us
have
about that, Mike.
close. Yes, those days come when you don't know why you're together. You hate each other, or maybe you're going through some challenges
Yeah.
individually, or as a family, or as a person, and the natural response would be to blame the other person when you're facing issues of your own.
Yeah.
And you can't find anything to hold you together. Maybe it's the children, just for the sake of the children, or maybe what your in-laws or community will say.
Yeah.
But that's not enough to keep you together in a true, happy marriage. Then that's where you can rely on God. If you know that this purpose is a higher calling than your own selfish human reasons, then you can say, oh, I am here for a purpose. I was born to be in this marriage. Of course, there are marriages that are abusive. That's a different topic, where the wife is being beaten by the husband. Even Jesus says there are some reasons to cause for the dissolution.
Yeah.
It's case by case basis.
Of course.
But whenever we have God as the foundation of our relationship, then when we're at the end of our line as a person, then we turn to God. God. And then if He is the beginning of our relationship to start with, then you're stronger. It doesn't mean it's easier.
Yeah.
It's still difficult, but then you have the bigger purpose.
For me, I would say faith, God like you said, is the foundation of everything. And for me, I did not want a marriage where I'm existing, I'm
Need to
pretending to
thrive.
smile in front of the cameras. We are happy.
I tell
Then
you.
behind doors, you're crying. I did not
couple
want
goals.
that. Exactly. Your hashtag marriage works, but then it's not working. It's not
true.
working behind. I did not want that at all.
Okay.
I did not want a life of pretense. And so I do not live a life of pretense because I
girl.
rely on God 100% for my happiness and my joy, not on Him. Because if I rely on Him and my marriage and
He
I
lets
put it
you
on a
down.
pedestal and He lets me down, I'll be crushed beyond crushing. And so I also don't want to put Him in a place that He even takes the place of God in my life.
Okay.
And so now just bringing and joining it all together and like, God, you gave me this man. You change him. Like if you want something to be changed, you take it to your prayer closet. Because at the end in Proverbs it says, a woman is the one who tears down her house and she's the one who builds it up. And so in your prayer closet, when I'm with God, everything I ever want about my home, I deal
take it
it
to
out
God.
with Him. I'm like, you know what? I need this changed with Him. Please, dear. I won't tell Him by there. I won't tell Him.
Really?
Yeah, I won't be like, oh, you need to change this, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm like, God. Because a man doesn't change, by the way. If he is there, he's in dating, that's him. He does not change. Only God can change a man. And when God is your ultimate person you talk to all the time and bringing it to Him, and then you see results. The faith that He will bring it, and you're seeing results, and you're constantly happy, you know, and enjoy, because happiness is not joy. That's why He says you have to be in the joy of the Lord. It's internal. It is not just a fake. And it's the world of social media just portraying marriages. And then I thought they were happy. The next day you're seeing they're divorcing. And you're wondering what happened. And I did not want that, and I still don't want it. But that's because I keep going back to God. I keep going back to the source. I keep going back to the originator of this marriage.
I love that. So what would you tell a couple today who are putting up a facade or putting up a face and it's not working, or a couple who's giving up? They don't know if they can continue to do it. How would you encourage them today?
Well, it depends on the reasons. Find out what is keeping you together. If it's just social pressure and God is not there in the equation, maybe there's no need to stay together. But if it's God who brought you together, the Bible says, what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. If you believe this is the will of God in your life, that you together to go forward, then you can overlook these petty reasons. You can overlook some things. Of course, there are some things that are non-negotiable. If the person is just physically abusing you every day and refuses to stop, of course, then you have to protect yourself and save yourself from that marriage. But in most cases, if it's not that severe, and you believe that it is God, you have been married in the church, and you have just been living a life of pretense, go back to God. Go back to God, because you can fool others, you can even fool yourself for some time.
That's true.
But you can never fool God. So go back to God and find the reason why are you together. And remember that it is the enemy at work through the world, trying to discredit you, your marriage, and trying to tear you apart. So you have to be aware that your marriage is under attack. So if you bring it to God and you find that clarity of purpose while you're together, then you can last.
You can last. I like the reminder to fight on your knees. Fight on your knees in every season. Now, 8 years later, after at first rejecting, Liz, you're like, no, I'm not doing this. Now happily married. What do you love most about your husband?
I really love his humility. Like, he's so opposite from me.
Oh, really? That's funny. You're different in that way?
We are very different in that way. If you look at my background, I was brought up by, my mother is a princess.
She's
in
a
the
princess?
Ugandan kingdom, yes.
Oh, I see.
And so everything
Like
about
literally?
Yeah, literally.
Oh, wow.
In the Toro kingdom in Uganda.
I see.
And so she's from the, so she was brought up on a silver platter. And how she brought us up
Is the
was
same.
to always maintain your pride.
Wow.
You know?
You're a queen, madam.
Yes, you're like, do not put your head down, literally, you know,
I
for
see.
anything. And the father that he is to our children, you know,
nice.
sometimes I get jealous how he deals with his daughters, but you know, I really love him as a father, and just the man of God, because very few men of God preach to me in my spirit, you know. I find so many men
I can
of God.
tell already. I can tell.
Men of God, I find they preach, and I'm just like, that's so, the word
It's
was
not
so
biblical.
milk, you know, it was not hard enough for me to chew on. But when he preaches, you know, when he comes
speaks
off
to
the
you.
pulpit, I'm like, wow, wow, the Lord ministered to you, man of God. You have preached to me. I'm going to change my life. The word has transformed me. Thank you, Shaba.
Such a cartoon. Lily.
As you can already see, she's a ball of energy.
She is. She keeps you smiling.
With her, there's never a dull moment.
I can tell.
And if she describes me as having humility, that can also be, you know, boring. So she brings spice to life and she gets things started. She's in every place she's doing. She always is a self-starter,
Yeah.
and she has so much passion for the work of God to reach the youth. She pours her whole heart, and then in the house, and she's the one who builds the home, and she just pours out all the love there. Love on me, she loves on me, she loves on the kids, and you could just see her, she wears her heart on her sleeve. You could easily know she's passionate about the things she does. She doesn't do things haphazardly, so that's what I love about her.
So two things. What is the vision and the goal? And why did you decide to come out and share your story? Especially it took some time, 5 years later. And now here you are. Your marriage story is also a ministry. Why take that step? What is the intention and the hope?
I was seeing a lot of marriages that were not working, and then people getting discouraged. You know, you're ministering to people, then they're like, but you guys are fake. Marriage is a scam. You know everything. And I'm like, no. Marriages in Christ work. They work, and they work for real, not for fake, you know. And so if there's such a word, there's such English.
I understand you. They work for real.
They work for real. And so, yes, also, but initially why we began talking about it was the pandemic had just hit. And so churches were closed.
Yes.
So for 7 months, we were very idle, you know, and the kind of people we were preaching to online wasn't working either because they don't have bundles or something. And so it wasn't working. So we were, the whole family, we were locked down in Ukambani, my parents, my siblings, all of us pastors, and we're just sitting there, you know, enjoying life, talking to each other every day. Yeah. I was like, you guys, let's start a YouTube channel.
Yeah, let's do something.
Let's do something. And then they're like, you guys, you start, you have a story to tell. I'm like, by the way, let us start with that. Yeah. And then when you get the audience, then you preach. And so that's what we did. So when we got the subscribers, then now you'll find a lot of preaching on our channel. And we find also young marriages asking a lot about, and so we didn't realize what we had until we put it out there. And then we're like, oh, okay. So,
some of the things you see why God brought you together, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, how's the feedback been like?
Yeah, at first they couldn't believe there's that novelty aspect of it, like who in this day and age will...
Is still doing this.
Yes, is still doing this. Unless you go to countries who do that as a culture, like India and stuff like that. So they have a lot of questions.
That's why it has to be something bigger than yourself.
Yes.
Purpose and God involved. Because it doesn't make sense to
It doesn't make sense. And to be frank, we also don't recommend it to others. Because it's open. Yes, don't do it because it's open to manipulation. Maybe you're being pushed because of money, because of consideration, convenience, or status. And if it's not really God, then it's difficult. And marriage is one of the most important decisions you'll ever make. It can make or break your life if you marry wrong. But if you marry right according to where God is leading you, then you will fulfill your destiny.
That's powerful. As we wrap up, we've just celebrated love, and I think it's something we should celebrate all the time.
Yes.
How do you keep the spark alive in your relationship?
Yeah, it has to be a proactive effort, because if you just put your marriage on autopilot, when you begin to take for granted your spouse, because you're already married, then there's no more effort, then that's when the love starts decreasing. Yes, you got put together by God, but it is up to you. It is your marriage. So if you don't work at it, if you ignore the other person, you ignore yourself, you let yourself go, then you're inching towards destruction. There's no more appealing. You're out there, you're at work, your spouse is seeing other people dressed nicely, smelling nicely, looking sharp, and you're just there and
not taking care of yourself.
You're also neglecting your spouse. You're no longer cool and affectionate towards your spouse. Of course, that you are harming your own marriage. So it takes effort. You can't just leave it on autopilot and say, "Oh, we will never divorce." No, you have to work at it. It's a constant, everyday effort.
That's so true. Thank you to the Ocampos.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for coming and sharing your story with us and encouraging us and inspiring us as we celebrate love. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank
We wish you the very, very best.
Thank you.
More kids on the way. Maybe we can get to number 12.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
But well done, guys. Thank you so much. And thank you at home for making time. Celebrate love. And I guess the big lesson of the takeout here is may God be involved from the get-go. And this will be the outcome. A beautiful love story. Thank you for making time. Thank you, Stakeout, for hosting us on Manyani Road here in Lavington. Until next week, take care of yourselves. Good night and God bless.